I can't even think of other orders without referring to my script. Hey yo, and welcome back to my channel where I share writer things and my experiences along the way to self-publication. This week, I'd like to discuss some of the habits that I have within my writing and some of the habits that I have while writing. If that sounded a little confusing, don't worry about it. It'll make sense after a few points. So, let's go right into it. I really love my name. This is probably why I use a lot of names that start with the letter S. But I mean, a lot of S names sound really cool. And they tend to have really cool meanings too, in a lot of different languages, not just English. Plus, I write a lot of fantasy, which is a really great setting for making up letter S names. It's a bad habit I'm trying to break, making all of my MCs start with the letter S. A short list of some of my letter S MCs. Sylvia, Setsuna, Sabrina, Zavrina, Sebastian, Solara, Shahira, Sasami, Serena, Sylvester, Samuel, Sylvan, Sidhath, Shinai, Selena, Celine, all names I've used and are using. If I mispronounced anything there, I'm sorry, I don't think I did. Now, I'm not swearing off letter S names, but I do acknowledge that there are other letters in the alphabet, and there are a lot of great names with awesome meanings that don't start with S. So I'm branching out. It's still gonna have S names though, probably. I'm a very thirsty lady, and I stay really hydrated. I take either a sip or a drink from my cup every time I stop typing, whether that's after a sentence or a paragraph or a page. If I thought deeper on it, maybe it might be so that I have something to do with my hands while I think. Sipping my tea while I ruminate. What shade of blue do I want to use? Cobalt or azure? Damn it, why didn't I add this in my outline? Do I want to add in their love of apples? It's not really that important right now, but it could be used to make a funny line in a few sentences. Or I could just be one thirsty-ass woman. Also, could just be normal and nobody else really talks about how they have to get up every few pages to refill their drink. Oh well, could be worse. I could get dehydrated. Well, I'm sure listening to me rant about hydration is the real reason you came here today. We'll go ahead and move on to the next habit. Everyone in my family has at least one tattoo. Now, I didn't understand there was a stigma on tattoos until I was old enough to realize that society and the bubble of reality I existed in were not necessarily the same when it came to standards. Thankfully and unfortunately, that was a lesson I learned at a very young age. Of course, understanding at a young age that my bubble didn't match society's bubble meant that my society's bubble probably didn't match the rest of the world's bubble. So, piecing together, everybody had their own bubble, I became very fascinated with learning about everybody else's bubble. And one of the things I really wanted to understand was how tattoos fit into everybody else's bubble. Like with many other things, there are some cultures that find them very important and use them symbolically. And then there are cultures that disdain them and find them indecent. This is one of the areas where I just let my personal bias seep into my work. In a lot of my cultures, tattoos are just seen as everyday decoration. Sometimes they have a much deeper significance. It just depends on what feels right for that culture. But I say my personal bias seeps in because I never have them be taboo or ick because One of my favorite things to do? Magical tattoos! Blessed by a deity? Got a magic mark there now. Magical marriages? Why not magical matching tattoos to celebrate it? Cheaper than going to a tattoo parlor. A lot of writers I know play music while they write. Of those writers, all of the ones I know play instrumentals. They can't really listen to lyrical music because they get distracted or they start singing with them, which is understandable. I'm kind of the opposite. If there's no lyrics, then I zone out. And if there are lyrics, I can push the music to the background of my mind. until I need a break. And then when I need a break, I'll listen to the lyrics, maybe sing with the song, maybe start it over, jam out, and then get back into my workflow when that song finishes. Since I have a playlist set up for my novels, doing this helps keep me really pumped because all of the songs on there are associated with the novel, characters, or scenes that I really just can't wait to write. So even if I'm not madly in love with the scene I'm writing at that exact moment in time, sorry fight scenes, you and me, we're just always gonna be friends. I'm still pumped about the project as a whole and can kick my ass into gear and get the scene written. If you also listen to songs with lyrics while you write, please let me know that I'm not alone. Please let me know that I am not alone. In most, if not all, of my old works, the number one first thing that readers would learn about any character they saw would be their eye color. At least as far as physical descriptions went, and then their hair, and then their skin, and then everything else would depend on what was going on or what the characters noticed. In newer works, I've mixed it up a little. No, not really. Now readers learn about hair color, then eyes, then skin, then everything else. Now, this isn't bad per se, because readers still get all of the physical description, but that's not every character is going to notice everything in the same order every single time. Which is an example of my bias leaking in that I didn't even realize had leaked in, because that's just the way I think of people. Writing it down in that order in the outline helps so that when I go to write the draft, I can just write it out the way that my narrator notices things, not the way I think of things. Now, my narrator could notice hair, eyes, skin, clothes, jewelry, etc., etc. Or they might notice clothes first, really. I've got a few who, notice clothes before anything else. This isn't really something anybody's ever complained about. As I said, I still describe people fully, so readers usually like my descriptions. But I can improve in this area, and I intend to. Music in the background, signed in Discord. Probably sitting in a voice chat with somebody. Phone game, loaded up on my phone for break time. These are a few things that I might have going on when I sit down to write. I know, multitasking can be horrendous for writing productivity, but I have an attention thing, and I genuinely get more work done when I can take a moment every now and then to just check a chat room or use up some energy for a minute or two. I never take more than 2-3 minutes in between writing, unless it is a break time, which is about 10 minutes every hour or so. And if I have a tab open that had a video on that I wanted to watch, I'll hit play when I get up to go pee or to refresh my drink or to make a snack or something, and then pause it while I write and just watch the video on and off while I'm working. Used to, before I had kids, I'd just listen to the video while I wrote, but I don't quite have that mental juggling power anymore. Oh, do I miss it though? I'm not sure if this works for me because it gives my mind a moment to reset and rest or what. But what I do know is I have spent well over a decade testing out different things and figuring out what does and what doesn't help me be more productive with my writing. Now, this works for me because it helps me be more productive. If it didn't help me be more productive, then it would just be a distraction and it would not be worth it. Whenever I'm planning an interaction between people, I almost always have the dialogue planned out first. My outlines have almost all of the rough conversations in my novel planned out. When I go to draft, I polish it up and I add in actions and narration. Like with most of my planning stage, I do it this way because that's the way I think about it in my head. I like to plan the conversations out while I'm driving or while I'm sweeping. I have planned out scenes where I knew what the goal of the conversation was going to be, but I didn't actually plan the dialogue. So when I went to write the dialogue, it did not go how I wanted. Might be a shortcoming on my end, but I don't really give a fuck. Writing and planning with the dialogue first works really, really well for me. So why fix what isn't broken? Because of our lifestyle, in order for me to try to get a significant amount of work done at a time, I try to set aside a dedicated day a week for writing work. Whether that's critiquing somebody else's writing or working on my outline, I try to do it on that specific day. Some weeks this is more successful than others. By which I mean some weeks it happens. But when I can sit down to work during one of those days, I get so much fucking work done, and it makes me feel so much better about the days that I had to get up during the week to handle kids or the laundry or whatever, or those days where I just stared into space because brain fog and what even sentence, how do work, what words function, cat? The time will come when I will be able to consistently secure a weekly work night and even get 2 weekly work nights, and I will be such a productive beast, and these novels will get written in no time. I won't even know what to do, but until then, I will cling to the nights that I can get, and I will work my little ass off. One of my favorite parts about the Workly Weeknight is that I'm never alone. It's always me and 1 to 4 other people, normally some critique partners, sitting around enjoying each other's comfortable silences, only speaking when one of us is on a break, or we need to pick somebody's brain for some help on our whips. Work party, work party! Growing up, I was taught that nudity is nudity. If you're naked, you're naked. Different people have different comfort levels with being naked, and that was about it. You don't be naked out in public, you just be naked at home if you want to be naked at home. Whoop-de-doo. But, like with tattoos, I soon figured out that the reason you don't be naked in public is because, well, society doesn't see it that way. When I was researching other societies' bubbles, nudity was one of the specifics that I was very curious about with other cultures. It was kind of comical to me when I was 11 that a lot of my friends' parents were scandalized because they'd pick up a manga that was rated like Y for 7 and older, and it would have somebody in a hot spring, and they'd be just completely flabbergasted, just like, oh my god, they're naked in a hot spring, and this is rated for children. And it's like, I'm 11, and I know that this is a cultural difference, but you can't wrap your head around it, full-grown adult. It might have been comical and a little sad looking back at it, but when I was 11, I just thought it was funny. As with tattoos, I let my personal bias come in here. I prefer for my cultures just to see nudity as something natural and not indecent or weird. But my characters, as individuals, have their own opinions and levels of comfort or discomfort. Alright everyone, these have been some of my writing habits. I'm thinking about doing one like this, but for my critique partners. Drop a comment down below if that's something you'd be interested in. Maybe I'll see if I can bug them about agreeing to it. If you want to share any of your habits you have in your writing or while you're writing, drop a comment down below. I would love to hear about them. But that's all I got for you today. Remember folks, if you're curious about whether or not I can write, you can find samples on my website right here. Or if you'd prefer to stalk my socials at Samantha L. Nasset, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr. If you liked this video, please remember to give it a like, comment, and subscribe. If you really liked it, please ring-a-ding that bell and you'll receive notifications. I post videos on Wednesdays, so I'll see you next Wednesday. Sam out.
She has guest kitty. This guest kitty does not like to be in the lap, but he will put up with it for like 5 seconds. Then there's his 5 seconds.
Chosen by the goddesses, Triforce on your hand. Zelda influences it all. Distracted but from which is understandable.